Have you ever felt like you are living a pain that no one around you understands? That the challenges you face are deeper, more intense, and sometimes even meaningless? What if I told you that this is not a coincidence? That this pain is in fact a process of spiritual transformation? There are people who seem to live in peace even when everything around them is crumbling. They are people marked by losses, falls, and new beginnings. But somehow, they continue to stand. These people are the chosen ones. And what transforms their pain into strength is not luck. It is the spiritual challenges they face and overcome in silence. In this video, you will discover the 7 spiritual challenges that define the journey of the chosen ones. They are not simple obstacles. They are tests that shape, heal, and reveal the inner strength you carry. If you feel like you are being broken inside, you might just be being polished for something greater. Each challenge has a purpose. It removes what no longer serves you, confronts who you thought you were, and pushes you toward who you were truly born to be. It's not easy, I know. But it is necessary, because only those who go through these processes understand the value of real faith, a clear purpose, and unwavering strength. If you want to understand why you are facing all this, and how this pain can transform into your greatest strength, watch this video until the end. The challenges are there, but the transformation begins when you choose to cross through them. And remember, those who are chosen never walk alone. If this message resonates with you, follow the channel now and join us on this journey. 1. The broken mirror. Facing who you really are. There are moments when life seems to take away everything you believed you were. Your job changes. People drift away. Your routine stops making sense. What once provided structure is now just emptiness. And what remains in the end is you. Without disguises. Without distractions. Just you in front of your own truth. This is the first great challenge of the chosen ones. The moment when the inner mirror shatters and reveals who you really are. Not who you tried to be to please others. Not who the world expected. But who you are without emotional makeup. Without social characters. And this encounter can be uncomfortable, even painful. Facing yourself requires courage. Because you may see parts that you would rather hide. Unresolved traumas, choices made out of fear, words swallowed due to insecurity. When everything crumbles around you, the internal silence begins to reveal those marks that were camouflaged in the noise of routine and appearances. The hardest part of this phase is dealing with the feeling of being lost, because when you let go of who you thought you were, you still don't know who you will become. And this generates anguish. But this space between what has fallen and what is yet to be born is where transformation begins. It is in this emptiness that reconstruction happens. Many people try to escape this moment. They fill the silence with distractions, empty relationships, excessive work. But the chosen ones do not have this option. Something inside them forces them to look, to feel, to face. Not because they are stronger, but because they are called to live something greater. And for that, they need to be real. You may feel shame about what you find in this broken mirror. You may blame yourself for having lost your way. But this judgment only delays the process. What matters now is to look with compassion, to understand that everything you have been up to this point was part of the journey, including the mistakes, the fears, the masks. When you accept this raw version of yourself, a new strength begins to emerge. You realize that you no longer need to pretend, that you can be honest with yourself, that there is nothing lighter than living in truth, and that being whole is more powerful than being perfect. This challenge also clears the way for new connections to emerge. People who come closer to who you really are, not to who you pretended to be. And this changes everything, because now the bonds are deeper, more genuine. Your energy begins to attract what is aligned with your essence. The mirror does break, yes, but this is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the call to a life with more purpose, more clarity, and more freedom. Facing yourself is not about destroying yourself. It is about revealing yourself, and this revelation is the first step on the journey of the chosen ones. 2. The silence that screams. Spiritual isolation. After everything you were begins to crumble, there comes the silence. It is not just the absence of sound, but a dense internal silence. That feeling of being alone, even when surrounded by people. It is the moment when no one can reach what you feel. Only you know the weight you carry. This second challenge of the chosen ones is one of the most difficult because it cannot be shared. You try to explain, but it seems that no one understands. The advice doesn't help. The words don't reach. It's as if you are crossing a desert where there is no guide, no map, or right direction, just you and your soul. It is in this phase that you realize that no external answer will solve what is inside you. It doesn't matter how many motivational messages you read or how many distractions you seek. The only voice that can guide you now is yours. But to hear it, you need to silence yourself from within. The silence begins to reveal truths that you have avoided. Old fears resurface. Forgotten pains come back to the surface. You remember unresolved situations, decisions you wish you had made differently, words you never said. And all of this comes together like a movie playing inside you. And this time, without a remote control. At first, the desire is to escape, to fill the emptiness with anything. Social media, series, new people, endless tasks, but no distraction lasts forever. Eventually, everything falls silent again. And in that silence, you are challenged to do something you have avoided for a long time, to truly listen to yourself. Spiritual isolation is not a punishment. It is preparation. The universe is taking away the noises of the world so that you can hear the only voice that matters at this moment, yours. It is in this internal space that you begin to perceive who you are, what you truly feel, and where you need to go. The chosen ones face this process alone, not because they are abandoned, but because there is something that can only be understood in silence. And when you accept this isolation as part of the journey, it ceases to be empty and begins to become sacred, a space for deep connection with your essence. You begin to notice small signs. The chosen ones go through this process of detachment with tears in their eyes, because often what needs to be left behind is not something bad. It is something that once was good, but has fulfilled its role. Relationships, phases, habits, all of them have a time. And holding on to something outdated disrespects your new timing. Letting go is not to disregard. It is to recognize that you are changing, and that certain things no longer keep pace with your soul. It is an act of love for yourself. And when you let go, you make space. Space for the new, for the light, for what truly connects you with who you are becoming. In this challenge, many feel guilty. They think they are being ungrateful for wanting to let go. But the true disrespect is to remain trapped out of fear of appearing selfish. The chosen one understands that growth hurts, and that sometimes growing means saying goodbye to parts of yourself. And that's okay. At the end of this process, you realize that the luggage was not just what you were carrying, but what was preventing you from flying. The bottom of the well, the dark night of the soul. No chosen one passes unscathed through the dark night of the soul. This is the deepest point of the journey, where everything seems to have disappeared. Nothing makes sense. What used to motivate you no longer touches your heart. The ground that supported your certainties sinks. and you find yourself immersed in an emptiness that seems endless. It is difficult to put into words what one feels in this phase. It's as if the whole world has stopped, and you are trapped in a place that no one sees. On the outside, you may still be smiling. On the inside, you are screaming for answers, for meaning, for the slightest sign of hope. You begin to doubt everything: yourself, your choices, even God. The faith that once seemed firm wavers. You pray but feel silence. You seek comfort, but find more questions. It's a different kind of loneliness. It's not the absence of people, it's the absence of light within you. The chosen ones live this phase because they need to be emptied. Everything that is false, superficial, or built on fear needs to fall. And the only way for that to happen is when nothing else holds up. It is in this total darkness that the true light begins to be born. Small, timid, but real. You don't find this light outside. It comes from within. It sprouts like a thread of strength that still resists, even when everything seems lost, and that is what keeps you standing. An internal voice, almost whispering, saying, "It's not over. Keep going." This voice is your soul trying to remind you who you truly are. At this point, you begin to realize that the bottom of the well is not the end. It is the place where you find yourself without distractions, without masks, without escape. There is only you, your pain, and your essence. And for the first time, you have the chance to rebuild from what is true. The dark night of the soul demands surrender. You stop fighting against what you feel. You accept the moment. You acknowledge the pain without needing to disguise it. And in this sincere embrace, something begins to heal from within. You do not return to who you were before. You come back stronger, more sensitive, more aware of everything. The chosen ones who traverse this phase never see life the same way again. They learn to respect the processes, to feel more empathy, and to recognize the value of faith, even when everything seems lost. The pain that once felt unbearable transforms into wisdom, maturity, and strength. If you are in this moment now, know this. You are not failing. You are being reborn. The pain you feel today is clearing the path for who you are becoming. Hold on a little longer. The light will return. And when it does, you will understand that the bottom of the well was the place where your soul awakened. 5. Faith. Without sight. Trusting when nothing makes sense. After the bottom of the well comes an even more challenging moment. Moving forward even when you can't see the way. This is where faith without sight comes in. Not the pretty faith from books or catchy phrases, but that raw faith. The one that is born in the dark. The one that continues even when everything tells you to stop. This challenge stirs the hearts of the chosen ones. Because it is not just about believing in something greater, but about trusting when there are no guarantees. It is following without a map. It is walking with your eyes closed, guided only by an invisible but present certainty. A silent force that insists on saying, just one more step. Faith without sight is not blind. It is felt. It doesn't need proof. It needs surrender. It grows when plans fail, when certainties disappear, and when logic no longer explains anything. It's easy to trust when everything is going well. But the true test is to continue when everything seems lost. The chosen ones experience this intensely. There comes a time when external support no longer works. Motivational words sound empty. The promises of the world no longer touch the heart. And the only thing left is to trust. To trust in God. To trust in the process. To trust that there is something beyond the pain. This type of faith is built with scars. It is born from the fall, but it strengthens in the choice to rise. Not because everything has improved, but because there is something inside you that simply cannot give up. Something that says, It's not over yet. This voice is your spirit, reminding you of the mission you carry. Many confuse faith with optimism, but they are different things. Optimism hopes for the best. Faith sometimes faces the worst, knowing that it is still worth continuing. The faith of the chosen ones is not about results. It is about presence. It is about moving forward even without knowing the ending. It is about standing firm even while trembling inside. This challenge also teaches you to trust yourself. Because in moments like this, you learn to value your own strength. You realize that you survived situations you thought were impossible, that you took steps even while scared, and that even without seeing, your heart knew the way. Faith without sight transforms the way you see life. It ceases to depend on external signs. You learn to listen to internal signals. And you understand that not all darkness is the absence of God. Sometimes it is just a time of preparation, a time of sacred silence before the revelation. If you are in this moment, remember, only those who are called to see the light in a different way walk in the dark. And perhaps that is what is happening with you. Faith may seem fragile, but it is what will sustain you until the end. Keep going. You are not alone. 6. The river that carries you. Total surrender. There comes a point when fighting becomes exhausting. After so many attempts, falls, and new beginnings, something inside you begins to change. The energy is no longer in controlling, but in letting go. And this is where the 6th challenge of the chosen ones begins. Surrender. A silent, deep process, and often misunderstood. Surrendering is not giving up. It is accepting that there is a greater force guiding everything. It is when you realize that controlling every step only leaves you more worn out. Surrender happens when you understand that you don't need to have all the answers, and that trusting the flow of life is, in fact, an act of wisdom. The mind resists. It has been trained to plan, protect, and predict. But the soul knows. It feels when it is time to stop swimming against the current and just let yourself be carried away. This surrender is not passivity. It is maturity. It is the awareness that letting go of control is not losing, but allowing. Many of the chosen ones spend a good part of their lives trying to handle everything. They want to save, solve, and carry the world on their shoulders. Until the body tires, the mind becomes overloaded, and the heart cries out for lightness. It is at this moment that the river appears, and you have to choose. Keep fighting or trust and flow. True surrender does not come from exhaustion, but from understanding. You do not let go because you are out of strength, but because you have finally understood that control was an illusion, and that there is a divine intelligence that knows the way, even when you don't know where it will lead. This challenge liberates. When you surrender, anxiety decreases, the weight on your shoulders lightens, and fear begins to lose its grip. You start to live in a lighter way, more connected to the present and more open to the new. Life begins to flow differently. Trusting the river is trusting in God, in life, and in yourself. It is accepting that you don't need to have everything under control to be on the right path. Sometimes the best decision is to stop resisting and just follow along. The chosen ones understand this in their own time, and when they understand, everything begins to change. 7. The awakened gaze. The birth of purpose. After going through pain, silence, loneliness, the bottom of the well, blind faith, and surrender, something changes. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You begin to see with different eyes. These are not the physical eyes. It is the gaze of the soul, the gaze of one who has awakened. This is the 7th challenge of the chosen ones, the awakening of purpose. It is not something you find in a book or discover in a course. It is something that is born. It comes from within. It emerges as a clarity, a feeling that all you have lived so far, even the most painful parts, made sense. Everything served to prepare you. You look back and understand the falls. You comprehend the silences. You forgive the mistakes. You recognize the people who passed through, the places you walked, the paths that seemed wrong. Nothing was by chance. Every piece of the journey shaped you. Every pain was a lesson. Every loss was a redirection. It is at this point that suffering transforms into wisdom. You no longer want to carry grudges. You feel no need to prove anything. You no longer need to be accepted, recognized, or validated. Because now, you know yourself. You know who you are. And that is enough. This is the true awakening, when the external no longer commands your internal. Purpose does not arise from a plan. It is born from a meaning, from a deep connection to something greater than yourself. It is when you feel that there is a real reason to be here, that your life is not just about surviving, but about serving, about touching other lives with what you have learned, with what you have overcome. You stop seeking purpose as something outside of yourself, and you start to be the purpose itself. The way you speak, how you move, how you live, begins to have more intention. You no longer live on autopilot. You begin to live with presence, with truth, with the awareness of who you are and what you came here to do. The most beautiful thing about this moment is that it does not come with fireworks. It comes with peace, with lightness. It is a quiet certainty that now you are on the right path, even if the path still has challenges. The difference is that now you know why you are walking. The chosen ones awaken not to place themselves above others, but to serve, not with superiority but with humility, because those who have gone through pain, emptiness, and blind faith understand. They have compassion. They know the value of a sincere word, a real hug, a simple gesture. This new gaze allows you to see beyond appearances. You begin to recognize other chosen ones by the sparkle in their eyes, by their firm posture, by their serenity in the face of chaos. The world remains the same, but you do not. You now see with more depth, feel with more intensity, live with more meaning. And when this gaze awakens, there is no turning back. You can no longer hide from who you are, nor pretend that you did not see. Because seeing the truth once changes everything. And the truth about you is simple. You are part of something greater. You have a calling, and you are ready to respond. The birth of purpose is the end of meaningless pain, and the beginning of a life with direction. And if you have made it this far, know this: it was not in vain. The pain that shaped you now prepares you to serve, impact, and live with truth. Because the chosen ones do not just go through the process, they become the process itself. You were not broken, you were revealed. If you have come this far, it is because something inside you recognized this path. Every challenge you faced, the pain, the silence, the loss, the doubt, the emptiness, the surrender, and finally the awakening, was not a punishment. It was a process, a call to become who you were meant to be. You were not broken to be destroyed. You were broken to be revealed. Every part that fell away was a part that no longer matched your purpose. The pain merely cleared the path to your truth. Now you know. To be chosen is not about spiritual status. It is about courage. The courage to face pain, to confront yourself, to continue even when everything collapses. The courage to listen to your own soul when the world falls silent. You were chosen to live with meaning, to transform what hurt you into strength, to use your story as healing for others. And if this content has touched your heart, follow the channel. Here you will always find direction, clarity, and truth to keep you steady on your path. Because the chosen ones are never alone. They are just learning to listen to who they truly are.